This show is powered by BL3P, the Lightning-enabled European Bitcoin exchange.
Connect the build.
Bert de Groot, BitcoinBrabant from Brabant.
Beach volleyball originated in Santa Monica, California in the 1920s and has since become a popular global sport. The FIVB Beach Volleyball World Tour is one of the premier international competitions for the sport. Have you ever attended or participated in a beach volleyball tournament on the World Tour?
No.
Tulip farming in the Netherlands dates back to the 16th century, with tulips becoming a symbol of Dutch horticulture. In the 1630s, we experienced tulip mania, one of the first recorded speculative bubbles where tulips bulbs were traded at bizarre high prices. Do you find the history of tulip mania fascinating?
Yes.
Entrecôte, a French term meaning between the ribs, has been a popular cut of beef in French cuisine for centuries. The perfect entrecôte is often achieved through careful grilling or pan-searing to preserve its tenderness and flavor. Do you prefer grilling entrecôte over other cooking techniques?
Yes.
The bottled water industry has grown significantly over the past few decades, with many people preferring it over tap water. Do you often choose bottled water over tap water?
No.
A Beautiful Mind is a film based on the life of John Nash, a Nobel laureate in economics who struggled with schizophrenia. Russell Crowe's portrayal of Josh Nash was widely praised and earned him a nomination for the Best Actor Oscar. Do you think Russell Crowe's performance in A Beautiful Mind is one of his best?
Yes.
Attending a live classical music concert can be overwhelming, and the experience can vary with each concert hall. In Amsterdam, we have the famous Concertgebouw. Have you ever been to a classical music concert at the Concertgebouw?
No.
Murray Rothbard is considered one of the key figures in modern libertarianism and Austrian economics. Do you think his book An Anatomy of the State effectively lays out the fundamental principles of libertarianism?
Yes.
We were told that Norway is your favorite holiday destination. One of the most magical experiences in Norway is witnessing the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis. Have you ever seen the Northern Lights during your visits to Norway?
No.
Do you prefer patat over friet?
Neutral.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
Definitely not.
Welcome to the Connect the World weekly podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Steph. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. This is episode 119 of Connect the World, and this show is made possible by our friends from BL3P and BRINGIN. Thank you guys for helping us with our mission to connect the world with Bitcoin through the Lightning Network. And if you also want to help out with our mission, then follow us on Twitter, subscribe at our YouTube channel, or if you have any questions at all, then head over to our Telegram groups where you can ask us anything. Conecta el mundo.
Welcome, Bert.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Yeah.
The last time we spoke each other was at Adopting Bitcoin in Arnhem, because you did
that's not so long ago.
It's not so long ago, a few months ago.
Yep.
You did a great mining workshop there, and you were also one of the speakers on stage.
Yeah, on the small stage. I was together with Gridless, Miss Kenya. It was with Janet, and it was really nice. Yeah.
And obviously about mining.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Was
What
it
else?
a panel discussion about mining?
It was a fireside chat, so we were asking questions to each other.
Yeah,
okay.
but that's interesting. Yeah. That's
It was actually a
cool,
nice
that's cool.
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, your worlds are the same, but the geographical locations are totally different, obviously. So, but were there a lot of differences between your strategy with mining, or?
Yeah, so that was also very clear in the discussion that the challenges in Kenya and in Africa in general are totally different from the challenges we have here. But there is also some overlap, which we then discussed. But I think there's excess electricity there with renewables, and here we also have excess, but it's totally different. There it's often hydro or solar. And here it's often grid-based, so it's really excess, which is grid-based, or sometimes at larger locations, which combines with factories, these kind of things.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think it's recorded, and maybe it's
you can watch it
already.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's on YouTube for the ones who want to check it out. Hey, in Norway, Bet, you never saw the Aurora Borealis.
No, it's super disappointing.
Yeah, super disappointing. But
I'm planning to go when the kids are grown up. Then it's nicer as a family thing. So.
Cool. Yeah, but because are you visiting in the summer more often than in the winter times?
Yeah, in summer. We did it in summer. Yeah. And actually, I only visited once. But it's just my favorite from that one visit. And
okay.
And it was actually, we went to a Bitcoin meetup in Stavanger. So shout out to the Norwegian Bitcoin crew.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, we used to have a big collaboration back in the days, Edward. With the Norwegian... well, what was the name? The Koningrid or something like that?
Yeah, Koningrid, yeah.
Koningrid community. So we opened up a bunch of lightning channels to each other.
Oh, nice. And they were in our group also very active. So that was nice. Yeah, we were one time in their show, right, Steph? That was really a long time ago.
With Eric Dill,
Eric Dill.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, man.
Hey, but the Northern Lights, Steph, that's you don't need to visit Norway, right? The Northern Lights were here.
In Holland. in Holland too, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that was strange.
It's not as amazing.
No, of course.
No.
It's a big thing.
It was amazing for the Dutch because it doesn't happen very often here. But the really bright green ones you only have in Norway.
You've seen it, Steph?
No, not here in Holland. I saw it, but I've never been to Norway. It's on my bucket list of I want to go to Lapland.
Exactly.
For the real experience. So. But I've never been.
I've been to Norway, but in the north. So so I walked the Preikestolen. And that was the farthest south that I went. But it's really beautiful. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and beach volleyball, Bert de Groot.
Yeah.
You're a Dutchie. You're a fellow Dutchie, and I mean, I love sports, all kind of sports. Yeah. I watch all kind of sports nowadays with Wimbledon, the Euros, the Tour de France. I mean, you can keep your television on all day, but beach volleyball, I mean, it's not very typical here, right?
No. I always, of course, played volleyball, but when beach volleyball started to come up a little bit, then I started to play beach volleyball in Eindhoven. Together with a teammate of mine, and we would do that in off the season. So in winter, let's say in winter you play indoors, and then in summer we would play outdoors. And we did that a lot, and so we'd still do that in the same fashion. So in the winter I play with my dad in the sport hall, but in the summer my dad doesn't attend because he's too old for that on the sand. So we still do it with the younger crew. Yeah.
Cool, man. Okay.
Hey, and the question that had you in doubt was, do you prefer patat over friet?
Yeah, this is such a lame discussion. I don't care, actually, to be honest. As long as it's fried in proper fat and not in some oil.
Okay.
Yes, and as long as it's with mayonnaise, right? Then it's we're total friends.
Yeah, preferably a proper mayonnaise. Yeah,
proper mayonnaise. Yes,
let's do that someday.
Yeah. Hey, before we start, Bert, because you're the one who's running BitcoinBrabant, the project.
Yeah,
maybe you can share a bit because I think everyone here in Holland knows you. We have a lot of listeners from Holland, but we also have listeners from abroad. So maybe you can share your journey that led to start BitcoinBrabant, because Brabant is one of the provinces here in Holland. and how it aligns with your background in engineering and innovation. That's maybe a good introduction to the real interview we have in the 21 minutes.
Yeah, maybe it's nice to do it a bit from a different angle, because you always tell the same, right? So actually, in my previous job, I was doing a lot of innovative projects. So also running, let's say, big IT projects in the port sector. But next to that, it was really fun to do some electrical trucking and projects for electric shipping that were coming up. So all at the basis, and then there were discussions with big brands like Nike and Heineken about how are we going to transport these shipping containers. We were doing a lot of them. How are we going to transport them? And is that going to be hydrogen or battery driven? And there were a lot of calculations back then already, and already it became very clear that it was going to go towards battery solutions, but there were a lot of outside influences which made it, let's say, very difficult for everyone. And that were super interesting times. And after finishing my work in the ports, also doing a lot of work across the globe before that, I started a bicycle rental, which was something totally different, and bought a shitload of electric bikes in the hilly part of the Netherlands in the south. And that company I had to cease because of personal circumstances, but then I was able to sell it, luckily. So I didn't get in such a large loss, but it was already quite a success in such a short moment, because a lot of positive reviews, and the company directly started to run. Was really fun. But I was already a Bitcoiner at that time. It was in 2021. And then when I finalized this, it was, I think, at the end of 2021, I directly fully dove into mining, heating the home. I wanted to know really everything about Bitcoin, and I just started BitcoinBrabant because I wanted to help people. And why Brabant? Brabant is a province, and I thought city is too small, town is too small, Brabant is a province. Okay, hyper-Bitcoinization in Brabant is possible. These people do a lot of proof of work. Let's go for it. Let's do BitcoinBrabant. And that's still my hope, that we will be one of the first provinces in the Netherlands that adopt Bitcoin. So let's see how far I can take this.
Yeah, and the fun thing is, because we from all of our provinces, Brabant is one of the very few that people shout that they're from Brabant, right? I'm living in North Holland, but I don't call myself a North Hollander. People from Brabant, they call themselves Brabander. So you guys also
an entire period where Brabant wanted to, of course, separate themselves together with Flanders so Flanders would separate from Belgium, and then Brabant would separate from the Netherlands, and then we would come together, being the economic powerhouse of Europe, So there have been in the history already quite some discussions, and that goes much more deep, because you have the rivers dividing the Netherlands, and below the rivers have been 80 years longer under Catholic Spanish regime, and the north was already freed as the Protestant, and that divide in that sense is still a bit there. So in the south you have the crazy drinking large families, like my mom comes from a family of 13 kids, and that's a bit different from the north, let's say. So in this super tiny country, if you go above or below the rivers, it's a bit different. But I don't really see it that way, but it's fun to push that a bit.
And we have a real anthem, Guus Meeuwis, of course.
Everybody can sing along, with the beer in the hand.
That's correct.
Yeah, indeed.
That's correct. Hey, nice introduction to your to the start of BitcoinBrabant. Bert, we really want to talk about BitcoinBrabant and home mining, professional mining. All those kind of subjects. So let's start with doing that in the 21 questions. I'd like to head over to that part.
The 21 Minutes is brought to you by BRINGIN, the app to reliably sell and spend Bitcoin from any wallet. Yeah, let's start with diving into that mining. With BitcoinBrabant, you help businesses with mining solutions and building permanent mining facilities or temporary mining facilities. Can you explain perhaps at first the differences between these two and scenarios in which each would be used?
Yeah, so if temporary mining solutions is basically like you have access, and especially now in the Netherlands, we still have the salderingsregeling, of course. So if you have a lot of access, you can actually mine that away. But probably putting a machine like you see there, the guerrilla miner, that's just too much for the entire year. So you just need it at a certain period of the year. So we just share the miner, and then we mine it away with a couple of people, and that's a possibility that we facilitate. Yeah. So that's a temporary mining solution, which is just a shared miner, let's say, and that these of course can have different capacities. So that's a possibility, but it's not really being done much. And then you have the permanent, and that's really at locations where there is need for heat in general, and there's access, and where you might also be able to load balance. And I think that's both happening at the hobby level, so at home, and just to learn about mining and have fun with that, but also on a large scale. So we are looking at larger projects now that are super interesting with regards to heat repurposing in a factory, together with creating a heat buffer that they already do in the greenhouses, which are being heated with Bitcoin mining. But it's not that technology which is used in greenhouses is not being used in factories yet. So the combination of those two can be created in combination with Bitcoin mining, because they come to us because of the excess electricity they have on the roofs, and they can't deliver anything back on the grid. So there's just zero electric input, let's say. And then if you can start buffering that into heat buffers, it becomes super interesting in all kinds of ways, because the maximum capacity that you need on the grid becomes less. You can start load balancing the grid. You can reduce the peak volume of the heating in the factory processes. Like, the calculation is extremely difficult, but it really works nicely together. With the renewable generation that we see on these larger sites.
Yeah. And I'm also one of your customers. I've bought an S
Bitcoin
S9.
Amsterdam. You did that.
That's correct. Yeah, I always wanted a miner, and then I could grab one and just install it at my home. And now I'm using it to also load balance my my electricity, and because I have a dynamic contract, so my prices fluctuate each hour. Each hour I have a different price for per kilowatt hour, and sometimes it's negative. And I also have solar panels, and then I have two options: or just switch off the solar panels, or switch on electricity, more electricity. And I'm always going for that second option, obviously. And to be honest, I also switch off my solar panels, because I get a reward for using. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not really load balancing. Yeah, I'm load balancing, and I'm.
You are load balancing. You're direct.
I am load balancing, and I'm also not generating green energy. So that's a pity. But
there's so much green excess that you actually are consuming this green excess. You know, that's our
in another way, but not through my own system, obviously. So because it's switched off, but that doesn't matter to me.
You get paid for it, Steph. It's great.
Yeah, I know. I get paid fiat through my normal electricity contract, and I get paid in sets through the S9. So and you already discussed advantages. So like this load balancing, this heating. Yeah. But what are other advantages for greenhouses or workshops or warehouses and offices with Bitcoin miners, apart from those advantages?
No, I think that those are the main advantages. And in general, the discussion is always around, do you believe in Bitcoin or not? So all the installations we did, the people are fully self-sovereign. They mine their own Bitcoin. And that's where the storage solutions also came in for us. You know, we have a shitload of self-custody little machines, the hardware wallets, signing devices. And that came about because of the mining. So People were asking for proper solutions, so we had to investigate, and that takes quite some time to take the right choices. But I think we have quite a nice portfolio of solutions now.
I expected you to say that the biggest advantage of this all is by earning Bitcoin, right? Because apart from
that's only if you believe in Bitcoin, right? So indeed, and then it's of course because it comes fresh from the Coinbase. That is for the real Bitcoiners something that they want to have. So a lot of people I know, they have like some kind of stacking goal with mining because that's something that has never touched anything except their own incoming Bitcoin address, and that's really cool, right? And what I think is nice now is that Lightning is implemented at some pools, and that's also really cool. So we are selling the bit access here. The bit access that's really happening quite a lot now, and it's really cool because you have super small miner. It's just a single chip from basically these huge machines in the back, which are the industrial ones. And it just consumes around 18 watts. And in the end of the year, you have a cup of coffee, let's say, super small scale. But it's really
they are super efficient, right?
It's extremely efficient. So when I started my mining journey, so the only thing I wanted to do is I wanted to mine with the most efficient miner that existed at the moment. And that was because electricity is, of course, insanely expensive in the Netherlands. So the only way to make it work is to buy the most efficient one. So I imported one from the US. It was 15,000 euros, an insane amount of money. But there are quite some chips in there. So what they do now is they take a board of this. That was years ago, but it's a similar miner. They just take the board out. I think I have boards laying. Yeah, I have a board here. You see, the Dutch can read this. Board kapot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Broken board.
Yeah. So this is of course never the case, right? So broken board, the board is never broken. All of it is never broken. So what they do then is they take all the heat sinks off, and then you can take the chips out, and there's still a shitload of chips are working. And then these chips, they are basically put on this board. There's one chip on this, and then it's one chip miner instead of the 128 that are on this.
So it's the same chip, the same
it's the same chip
hardware.
as the S20. Yeah. So for this one, it's the S21 miner from Bitcoin. Yeah.
Hey, back to the advantages. I was also thinking, is it possible to for businesses to adopt it, to use it, because they have a problem that they want solved without being orange pilled? Do they need to be orange pilled?
Yeah, so a lot of people come for the money in that sense, as the money being euros, and they ask questions, of course, via our website, or they approach me. But in general, like if you just do the calculation and then you say, okay, what do you expect with the Bitcoin price? Yeah, I don't know, like half of now. Let's put it on half of now. Yeah, good luck, man. And you know. So in general, if you're in it for the euros, I wouldn't really calculate it. You know, you need to have some belief in Bitcoin, and that in the future it will be adopted across the globe. You know, that you have to have some understanding of it from the start, because if you just go into discussion like that, I don't even go into discussion. You know, I just ask on the email. So, what is your expectation? What is your exact need? And if that's really a euro answer, then I won't even spend time on it. For me, it's a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And a lot of businesses are also using the heat that is coming out of the miner. So not only for the load balancing, or all of them are using heat. Can you share
it's basically a combination in general of both. So it's both renewable access plus heat, because otherwise in the Netherlands it's really difficult. Yeah. And I think also that's why we are very far ahead with the heat repurposing solutions. So I think what is going to happen is that the heat repurposing is going to be critical in the future of mining. Because what you see now already, so you see in the US, we have a new hosted mining facility. It's 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. But the people who are going to host there, it's super risky, right? Because the price might go up of the kilowatt hour price. The maintenance might become problematic. If you look at the sheds that they put there, open air, it's air machines, air-cooled machines, a lot of maintenance in that sense. So if you start hosting in that direction, it becomes super dangerous, while the newest either immersion or hydro systems, they are low maintenance, they repurpose the heat, so you get paid for the heat. It's excess, so you are on the load balancing market, so you're paid from that also. Then all of a sudden your electricity price is insanely low, and you will outcompete all of these guys that are there just mining on a plain tariff and blowing the hot air into the. So I think these are in the long term going to be less and less and less. Only maybe at the excess locations, what we discussed, but that might be methane mitigation also, because then you have the CO2 credits, which also are paid. So that's a dual use. Mm-hmm. But heat repurposing will be a big thing, I believe.
Yeah, I can imagine. And well, you've created custom mining setups, including soundproof and fireproof boxes. What are some of the key considerations and steps involved in designing these solutions?
Yeah, so the first thing was noise. So,
noise.
At home you don't want to have all the noise, so you start to iterate on reducing the noise level and preferably also not having a fire. So then there were some noise cancellation panels with very good fireproofing, which were used in the generator industry. So that's what I started to use, and we did, I think, 13 iterations and all different kinds of models, because some people had an in-outflow of the air on one side, let's say. Some people had it in the length, so in-out on extended ends. And then we had some noise cancellation piping sometimes involved, or sometimes even extra fans being put in the channels. All these kind of things we developed in some kind of standard way. And then the diameter choices, we variated with that, and then checking temperatures for an optimal setup. And that in the end got us to like version 13 where we are now. Yeah. And that's still sometimes being implemented, but we are now moving more towards aluminium casing instead of wood. We still did wood a lot in the past, because that also dampens the sound further. Yeah. But alu is of course a better material, but that sound dampening wise we're a bit more problematic. So that there's also a lot of differentiations there. People need to pick what they prefer in that sense.
Yeah, and talking about cooling, because I also noticed with my S9, I've placed it on the balcony now, because it's very hot inside my home. So I don't want the heat. Yeah. No, I don't want it. I don't need it, but I don't want the heat. It has to stay out. So I'm putting it on my balcony. I have a nice closet there, so it's safe and all. But what I saw is the efficiency really fluctuates because of the heat. How do you manage the cooling of these mining setups to ensure to operate the efficiency perfectly and safely?
So that changes when the temperature goes up, and especially with the bin main devices, they when heat goes up, then they become a lot more inefficient. So you just have to take that into account. But in the greenhouses, for instance, where we have the plain miners standing there, they go above 40 degrees ambient temperature and they're still fine. It's not great for the machine, of course, but we tested all these setups out and it works. But it can, it's of course not the best solution and best surroundings. So in that sense, I think we will see more and more immersion and hydro, especially for these heat repurposing locations.
But is this also something you could use in with the big farmers that are using your systems? I mean, because now it's like I can imagine that the hot air is easier to use than immersion, so you have to transfer it into
but they have the systems in place always anyway. So in the greenhouses they have the piping already there. So so they just have to connect it there. So that's in that sense super easy. But the air cooled ones are just the cheapest solution to start. So if you look at all my installations that I built, they were small scale. And of course, we do quite some calculations now on the larger scale ones, supporting larger greenhouses, but also factories. So we do a lot of broad calculation because we had the experience on the smaller scale. But still, the small scale installations that we did were all air cooled, and that brings in also some more difficulties, let's say, with regards to maintenance and cooling. As you're saying, it's better to have water or immersion cooled systems in general.
Yeah. And you've talked earlier also about the global impact of Bitcoin, especially in countries with unstable economies, in one of your talks. And how do you see Bitcoin contributing to economic stability and financial inclusion worldwide, and perhaps combined with mining globally?
Yeah, so what I think is the biggest problem we have, like I traveled a lot for our work, and the issue is most people don't have access to a proper banking system / monetary system. So all the packages of money with the local dictator is quite problematic. So they have a choice now, and they can choose to use something different, which works really well, in comparison with their local systems. So I expect that that's where the adoption is coming from. And then, of course, the nice thing is, like what you see with Gridless, that there are a lot of locations that have excess electricity, or where they want to build electricity generation, but they don't have the consumers yet, where they can just put the container there and then consume the electricity directly. And then after more and more population starts to be onboarded on the electricity grid, then they just take the container to the next place where they again start to generate some electricity. So for these locations, it's really interesting in the form of electric generation facilities to make them directly profitable, let's say. So I see that combination come along with the developments across the globe, where they have poor currencies, let's say, or bad currencies anyway.
Yeah, and talking about mining centralization, I mean that's a pretty trending hot topic nowadays, because I think it's like 10 of the biggest mining companies who are controlling the biggest part of the hash rate now. Do you also see this as a big danger for the mining industry?
I think it's a risk. I definitely think it's a risk, and we should really aim to decentralize more, because.
But is it even possible? Because those guys, I mean, those are public traded companies, so there's a lot of money there. Is it even possible to join forces and to compete with them?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I believe that also investors will start to demand, in that sense, freedom from certain miners. So what I expect that would happen is that, of course, when you do an investment, you want return on that investment. If you then start to lean towards something that's super restrictive, that doesn't benefit the network, I think it will damage your company. So I would expect, as you're saying, there's centralization, yes, but I expect that a lot will start to move when some of these parties start to restrict some things. So in the end, it's always about the economical game theory behind it. And I don't think that will, let's say that it doesn't directly get painful, but we need to be aware of this, that there is a lot of centralization, that brings a huge risk with it. But I don't see the risk from the companies directly in that sense. Now it's more from, in that sense, governments. But the question then is what would happen, and how that would work. So, well, we don't know yet. So
no. And to add up on that, excuse me, Edward, because I see the time is running up. But it's something that also interests me, because now we entered a new epoch here in with Bitcoin, and we all expect the transactions, the volume of transactions rising, but you saw when the halving took place, you saw a big spike, and then now it's like I think it's a 6 sat per VByte is already picked up by the miners. So that means that the mempool is slowly but surely getting empty. Is this a risk in your opinion? Because
when the runes are out, then it's even lower, right? So I think, and I think that's a lot of pain for a lot of miners. So you see already these spikes were, of course, I think in that sense indirectly miner instigated. So they try to save themselves, because they are on a high cost basis. They are in a lot of debt. So you're saying, there's a lot of money. Yeah, there's a lot of money, but it's borrowed. So let's see where this ends up. But if you look back, I did a CNN interview, and in that same interview, there's another company, and that company I was a bit afraid of, let's say, falling over, because they were heavily Ethereum focused, and then all of a sudden they needed to switch to Bitcoin because Ethereum was going to proof of stake. And if you look at the indebtedness of this company, I'm curious how this survives in the long term. So let's see. But
I what I really meant by my question is are we going to survive on transaction on a fee based economy with Bitcoin instead of the subsidy? Because now it's only it's you're 100% sure.
That's what everybody wants to know, right?
Yeah.
We need to ask this to everyone.
We are magicians, and I really want to sneak peek into the future.
Well, that's right, because you're busy with the mining side of Bitcoin. It is a good question to ask you. But it's,
I believe so. I believe the network will be used more and more in the future.
That's positive, right, Steph?
I'm doing my best. I'm also contributing to this. So.
You're doing a great job. And everybody can start with those tiny one chip
to learn
device, right?
Fun.
Yeah, to learn.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. Yeah.
And we have a great community. Well, Bitcoin community is very strong. So thanks again. We had a lot more questions, but it doesn't matter. We will keep following you.
The time is running out. Your scarcest asset. Be careful.
The scarcest asset isn't Bitcoin. It's time.
Collect the build.
Yeah, we still have a question for you,
shit.
Last question. Just one.
But
it isn't from
save the best for last.
It's not from ours, but you may choose yourself because we pre-prepared 3 questions from Tony Klaus, and he's from Stable Channels. So it might be a bit technical question. From Prashant. Prashant, he's from BRINGIN, one of our sponsors, and the great service they provide. And one from Matt Hill, and he is from Start9, the node software.
Yeah.
So which one will it be?
Start9.
Okay, let's go with Matt Hill.
Here it comes.
Hey, this is Matt Hill from Start9. And my question is that if you and you alone were given the ability to send Bitcoin to 1 million USD, knowing that it would result in Bitcoin's capture by the legacy financial system and subsequent collapse and use as a surveillance tool, would you do it knowing that you could sell it at $1 million?
Never.
But it's such an easy answer. Yeah, but it is that we have Bert now, right? I mean, I could feeling this answer for Bert already. I mean, I know Bert quite.
You know why I chose Start9? I've had so many discussions about nodes. So for the past years, we were asked a lot, like, can you put a standard node in your web shop? And we are discussing Start9 already for quite a long time, and I think we should start selling it, but
okay. Maybe we can hook you up with Matt, because they are selling machines. So
I know.
Cool. Okay, man. Well, that was the question. Where can people follow you, Bert, if they want to learn more? And I must say, for everyone who's now listening and thinking, well, I mean, you have to. I mean, it is an investment, like a small miner too, right? It is just an investment, and I mean, it's not fair to say that it's easily.
You don't return the investment in euro terms. It's always best to just buy Bitcoin. But it's if you're interested in the technology, at some point I can understand that you might be interested. But you have to be honest. You won't earn it back in that sense. So I'm always honest about this.
And I want to encourage people. I want to encourage people. If you have just a little bit of interest, it's only like 150 or just 200 euros, and you already have like a starting kit for a home miner, and it's great. I mean, I had the same with when I started my Umbrel node. Like the rabbit holes you fall into. It's the same with mining, and it's great. And you contribute as long as it's just a little bit. But it's so nice, and it's so the community around it is very helpful, and so nice to learn more about Bitcoin. So I can everyone who is in doubt encouraged to buy a device. But the question was,
a better salesman than me.
The question was, where can people follow you, Bert?
So go to bitcoinbrabant.com, because there we have now also the media section, which we recently brought up because it's fun to actually see some things that we've done. And the YouTube channel, there's a lot of fun shorts with all the crazy builds I did. Awesome. With some other people.
I used the home automation video, by the way. That's also a very useful video if you want to integrate your miner with your home assistant.
Both open source. This is the nice thing. But and then of course I'm on X as Bitcoin Brabant. I think that's where I'm focusing on more now. So I'm switching a bit from my personal account towards the company account. I think it's better to post more on that side. And we also did that on Noster. So we also created a Bitcoin Brabant account there. And I'm hoping to show a lot more things that we can build over this summer. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Bert. And everybody else, also thanks for listening in. And of course, thanks to everyone helping to connect the world with us. So if you like our content, then please support us in our mission. Visit our website, connecttheworld.live, where you can also make a donation. And subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. So we need you to complete our mission, connect the world. So keep those nodes running, sats flowing, and try mining, perhaps. And see you all next week on the same Lightning channel. Tot ziens.
Thank you, guys. Bedankt. Houdoe.